Hello and welcome to episode 224 of the Steel Cage podcast. Thanks so much for joining us. My name's Darrell Johnson, occasionally known as the Beast from the Middle East. We have ourselves just a three-man pod this week to talk the week in wrestling. First of all, joining us from the Peanut Butter Palace in Phoenix, Arizona, Captain Caveman Derek Montilla.
Shout out to DirecTV for almost not allowing me to watch this week's episode of Raw, you bastards.
What happened?
Just, they decided apparently to make USA, ESPN, and Comedy Central all not work on my television recently. So all other channels come in crystal clear, so I get to watch Disney Junior all day long. But, you know, when I want to watch a recording of Raw, it ends up poorly. Shout out to everybody on Daily Motion, though, that put like 9 different versions of Raw on there for me to watch. So there was plenty of way for me to catch up on that.
Off air, I'll show you the site that I use.
All right, good.
And also joining us, the founder and proprietor, Mr. Joshua Schlag.
Yeah, I gotta say, DirecTV is hanging on, but you know they're on thin ice at this point. Like they're pretty much WWE on USA on Monday nights is the primary reason I still have a subscription to them. So
for the East Coast feed.
Yeah, for the East Coast feed. I know there's a new Sony service through PlayStation that looks pretty sweet, but since we live in essentially the West Coast time zone over here, we get the West Coast feed, and who the hell wants that?
Nobody wants that.
Ugh, stupid.
I don't want to watch South Park at 10 o'clock at night. That's insane.
Yeah. I mean, if it really did, I'd put it on my DVR and watch it a little bit later. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. So, Josh, do we have emails?
Yeah, we've got one email. His name is Richard, presumably from somewhere in the UK because he was actually on hand at Raw, at the Beatles 1985 on Twitter.
Oh.
He writes, he's just got kind of a few comments about Raw. He commented on the t-shirt situation. He says they had no Kevin Owens, no Sami Zayn, no Nakamura, no Bray Wyatt, no Finn Balor t-shirts, none of those. But they had a lot
for British fans.
Yeah, but they had a lot of Roman Reigns and a lot of the Usos. Hey.
I love it. WWE hates money. They hate money. No, we had that problem with WrestleMania, right? I mean, to no offense, I have no clue how many Nakamura shirts they had set aside to bring to Access, right? But I will also say that Nakamura aside, another shirt that they didn't have at Access that they were all out of as well was American Alpha. So I really feel like this, along with what they're saying, is more of a lack of planning on the WWE's part. Like a lack of really thinking that these NXT guys are as big as they are. And what they don't realize is like, people are sick of mainstream merch. You know, like, I've seen Roman Reigns stuff. I'm not even going to knock it. It's not all terrible, whatever. It falls right into the Randy Orton category for me of merchandise. Like, it's not bad, but I'm not buying any of it. You know, that's the way I see it. Just the NXT guys are new and exciting, and you have a much more limited opportunity to buy their merchandise, especially live at a show. You know, I guess the big thing there, it probably has to do with the fact that they weren't actually performing at the show.
Because it seems like if people want to buy the shirts, they can buy the shirts. It's like is the Money in the Bank on the line? No, but are they still selling that? Hell yeah. I mean,
lunchbox briefcase as well with it. They're not even they're shy about that at all.
It's one of those things where, like, I look at WWE and it's almost as if they could use like a handful of outside consultants who are not in the midst of the corporate machine, are not in with them even. But like consultants who could like kind of just give them pointers on things like merchandise sales potentially, creative direction. You know, when we talk about storyline stuff, even though right now they seem to be doing a little bit better. Like there's a good bit of like their head is under the water, so they can't see what's going on beyond that, and the t-shirt situation that we seem to see on a week-to-week basis seems to be a very obvious example of that.
Yeah. Sounds like you're applying for a job.
Yeah, no shit, right?
I'm just saying, take it for what it is.
You're right, because honestly, even even speaking to what you said there, like just some of the way they view their own programming and such. I mean, it's changed a lot, right? But like it kind of makes me think of WrestleMania. One of the big things about WrestleMania that people still have a problem with is like the Shane Undertaker match ending the way it did, then still having Shane come out and gain control of Raw and just kind of shitting all over that program and what they had planned out. You know, and that right there reminds me of a situation where it just feels like there were too many cooks in the kitchen. Like too many people overstepping other people. Like and basically I think what it boiled down to was thinking,
and Derek's gone.
Once we move on past this.
There he is.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Your mention of, this is a non-sequitur, but your mention of American Alpha reminded me that last night at trivia, one of the questions was something like, this country borders Syria and Iraq, and well, you know how I answered that. Jordan.
Nice.
Jordan.
Alright, second point that Richard makes, he had some criticism, I guess, of Kevin Dunn, which we have certainly not held back on this show in the past, but just kind of how the editing of the show went. He said that, they didn't come across as harsh as they really were, I guess, when it comes to Roman Reigns. A lot of hostile booing, boring chants, all that stuff. Said it was very similar to the night after Mania, where literally in the crowd they could not even hear what he was saying. And I remember having that same feeling when we were in Monday Night Raw. And also saying it seemed like some of the pops were a little bit muted, from AJ to Enzo and Cass, Cesaro, even the New Day. It didn't seem like it had as much of the impact that it did when he was there live, when he went back and watched it on TV. I don't know. I watched it on TV and I didn't think it was too bad. Like I got, and maybe it's just because like I knew how it was when I was there at Raw, but like I got the feeling that they absolutely hated Roman Reigns and they loved a lot of these other guys like AJ. So like to me, it still came across all right. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, they didn't show anybody like with the thumbs down or booing him. They purposely showed parts of the crowd that were kind of cheering him or just standing still and not doing anything, which is a very strange choice. But yeah, you could still hear that the crowd was largely negative. I don't know why they go to such lengths to try to mute the crowd, though.
It's silly, right? I mean, like, especially when they get to the point where, it's no longer Roman Reigns isn't a good guy or a bad guy, he's the guy. Like, just let the crowd be what it is. Like, you don't have to adjust them or edit them in post-production. I don't know. Like, it becomes obvious, especially since we see it every week on SmackDown,
Yeah, they're intentionally making Roman Reigns, just a repetitive, boring, annoying asshole. So, in a way, they are embracing that that the crowd doesn't like him. So, let the TV crowd know that the crowd doesn't like him. That's fine. Isn't that wrestling?
Yes.
Totally.
Plus, we're getting far less Roman Reigns, so you can tell that they know that people don't want to see Roman Reigns.
Right.
The episodes of Raw that we've liked so much over the last few weeks have featured so little of Roman Reigns. I mean, even when he was in the main event, we just didn't deal with these huge doses of Roman Reigns, and I mean, that's kind of how the champion should be. Like, I know that they've done that in the past where the champion is heavily featured, but the champion should kind of be like Brock Lesnar in a way. Like, not that infrequently, but just more of an attraction that when he shows up, it should be rare, it should be for a short amount of time, and it shouldn't be like the huge main focus of the show. I'm okay with the championship or number one contendership or whatever. I like when they put that in there, but I think the problem with Raw is when they have it all be about the champion, and then they have like even with other champions, even not Roman Reigns.
I agree, but only to a point, because you remember the days when Seth Rollins was carrying Raw and was by far the best thing in wrestling. Yeah. So I mean,
But they didn't have a lot going on at the time, and I think that Seth Rollins was a shining star in that. And yes, they wrote him, but they also, before even he was champion, he was doing that, right? Like every time before he was champion, we talked about somebody being a workhorse on every episode of Raw. It was Seth Rollins. He was always the guy that was putting on the 4-star, 5-star matches on Raw every week. So I think they just knew at the time they had somebody that they could lean on, to give the show a boost. I think now what they've realized is they have plenty of talent they've been underutilizing to lean on, and Roman Reigns is much more palatable in small doses. Like he's easier to take even as a heel or whatever they're doing with him in small doses. I honestly would love to see him put the swerve on us. Speaking of that the person that emailed us, he sent me a tweet saying, at Payback, the Bullet Club joins Roman Reigns and not AJ Styles, and they all turn heel, and that becomes Roman's official heel turn. And I mean, that's an idea I can really get behind, just because it's something different and unexpected. And I think, once again, cementing Roman Reigns, who's already, in my mind, made a heel turn, as a heel, it's now is the time, before people become indifferent to him. People hate him right now.
Yep. Oh man, that would put a lot of heat on those guys as well, because I'm thinking of that idea as dude, I hate it so much, but I hate it from a point of I wouldn't hate it and turn the TV off. I hate it as in I would just want to see them all get destroyed.
You'd be mad at them. How dare they do that?
Yeah,
how dare anybody back up Roman that isn't the Usos? You're not my Us.
Yeah, totally. All right, that's all I got for emails.
All right, so let's talk Raw. We'll just go chronological. Overall, it was a pretty good Raw, honestly, surprisingly enough. So we opened with the Ambrose Asylum, a talk show segment, reasonably entertaining, brought out Shane, and it all set up the Owens versus Zayn and Y2J versus Ambrose at Payback. What do you guys think of this? I liked Dean Ambrose's obsession with the plant.
Yes, me too.
And just overall, I like the opportunity they're giving Ambrose to just spend a little bit of time on the mic and kind of just have a conversation with the audience, and kind of feeling his way through doing a talk show monologue and all that stuff. It was kind of endearing and
him making fun of the Jay Leno style dumb jokes. Hey, did you hear about this?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Did you hear about this in the news today?
Yeah.
And not having a seat for anyone to sit on.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
What?
And the rug. I didn't even notice the rug until 10 minutes in, but they zoomed out and I saw the rug. I'm like, oh my god, what is happening? Everything about it, they were spot on with the details around that segment, and it's the most fun that I feel like I've had with a talk show segment, just in and of itself, outside of necessarily relying on the guests and whatnot.
Yes.
I feel like The Miz usually does a hell of a job, and obviously we talked about Jericho the previous week. But Dean Ambrose with the Ambrose Asylum, as it's called, this is the best possible thing to come out of that stupid moniker, is a talk show of sorts. So I like it.
Right. I agree with that, and I also think it's just wacky. It's Dean really separating himself and finding a new way for him to go, and I think that he's doing a really good job with it. And I like the fact that it actually set up the matches at Payback. I thought that was done in a good way. I mean, it really, that's the theme over the last couple of weeks, is the stuff they've done has been very simple, but it's been effective. And I don't know if it's just the fact that I'm excited to see something new with Shane running the show every week instead of the authority that we saw for a number of years, but just the fact that it's so simple in its approach. Oh yeah, you guys have had problems with each other. Guess what? You're facing each other at the pay-per-view. You guys too? Yeah, you guys are also facing each other. Like, it was that simple. And then like Shane kind of steps out, and the moment that Dean hands him the plant because shenanigans are about to go down, I just loved everything. I loved every moment of that, and it's a very refreshing change from what we've been given, over the last, God, like I said, number of years at this point with the Authority in charge. It was just different, and I dug it. It was a great way to open up the show. Ambrose was amazing.
Yeah, it was fun, and it ended with the faces attacking the heels, but not their pay-per-view opponents, which set up the two of the matches for Raw. Right. The first of which was Jericho versus Sami Zayn, and a pretty entertaining match. Jericho eye-poked his way to a victory, unfortunately. But it still advanced the characters pretty well. Jericho's still a douchebag. Sammy got in some good moves. I thought it was a good way to kick off the show.
Yeah. I was gonna say, you say unfortunately, eye poked his way. The thumb to the eye, it's that douchebag, dickbag Jericho.
So good at that. He's so good at it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that Jericho right now, I mean, even people are, we're asking why he got the win at WrestleMania. Well, because Jericho is now, like, significant again. He's not, like I was saying at one time in a past podcast, he's not just that part-timer that people don't really take seriously for what he's done in his career. He seems, fully engaged in this now, and they've done a great job of building him back up to the level that he deserves to be at with his career. And it's going to help to build these young guys up. He's going to have great matches with these guys, and he's doing an amazing job at it. I think I saw a tweet that anybody that wants to be a heel in wrestling or a bad guy, look at what Jericho is doing, and that's the truth, man. Like, from crowd control to what he does in the middle of the matches, everything he does is all about, making himself into that dickhead character, and he's really, really good at it. They've also done a good job with Sami Zayn at making him an underdog again. Like, they're gonna make him lose his way into being that underdog character that he was on NXT, but they're not going to phase him out like they did Dolph Ziggler. I think he's going to stay there, right around that area, so that people, get that feeling that he can do it if he got the right opportunity, but he's also been beaten so many times that people will question whether he can, and he'll be that great underdog character that they've been looking for to essentially replace, the Daniel Bryan character that they had at one point.
Agreed.
That would be nice.
Yeah,
I'm such a Sami Zayn mark.
I'm only hopeful, I guess.
Yeah, I'm with you. Actually, I really like that viewpoint. Also on Chris Jericho, like, to me, he's kind of at the point in his career, and again, because of the way they've built him, he's essentially, it seems like he's able to play the Shawn Michaels role of just going in there and start losing to these guys. WrestleMania was a bit of a story, and he didn't have to lose to put AJ Styles over, as we saw the way that whole thing is played out. But in general, I feel like he builds up these feuds, and now that he's been reestablished pretty well, I feel like he's going to start losing some of these. I don't know if it'll happen right away. There's no reason to freak out, but it seems to be the role he's playing in a way to get these guys over, and I think it's going to be really effective.
It's kind of like he has to get some wins under his belt first before you can start putting him over, and they've done that well with him. I do agree now heavily with the criticism that this will be like one of the most forgettable WrestleManias ever, simply based on the fact that all of this stuff that happened just has been erased since they've moved on. Like, yes, Jericho moves on, but AJ Styles became the number one contender for the belt the very next night after losing to Jericho at WrestleMania. Like, what a crazy prospect that is. And it's like everything that happened at WrestleMania essentially has been erased. That's one thing that the criticism is correct about, and I think it's WWE kind of admitting, in a way, that their booking, going into WrestleMania was kind of shit, and, now they have a good idea of the direction to go, but they painted themselves into a corner in certain situations, like having Shane beat Undertaker at WrestleMania. Like, that just couldn't fucking happen, yet they painted themselves into that corner of it needing to happen in order for Shane to take control, but Shane beating Undertaker at WrestleMania is preposterous when you really think about it. So, all of that combined makes it, really hard for them to have WrestleMania go the way that they needed it to go in order to properly progress the storylines. That being said, I'm glad that they said fuck that and just moved on. Like, they've done a really good job since then, and I'm okay with that. Like, just get yourself back on track, and I'll forget about that too, just like everybody else will, and we'll just move on with it being good now.
Yeah, it's definitely at the point. Oh, go ahead, Darrell.
One thing about Jericho, just one more thing. I don't know, I'm sure you guys follow him on Twitter as well. Just his Twitter game, now that he's full heel, has been really funny because he still retweets compliments for his podcast. And,
yes.
And is like, thanks so-and-so for being on my show. It was a great time. But then if anybody asks him a question about wrestling, he just calls them a dummy.
Yes.
He calls them dummies. He says he's going to just squash everybody. He appears on, like, Shinsuke Nakamura's Instagram account just talking shit randomly. Just random stupid stuff. He's all over the place right now, and it's amazing.
I laughed about that. I didn't even know that was him, but I was like, that looks like Jericho's account. Yeah, like, he has been great. Like, he has surpassed Kevin Owens in Twitter heel game, I think. Like, Kevin Owens is still really good, but Jericho's just, you can tell he's enjoying himself at doing it right now.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, next match, we had a semifinals match in the tag team tournament. Cass and Enzo beat the Dudleys, and it was everything that I was hoping for.
Oh, totally.
It was a classic Enzo match, too, where Enzo gets beat up for a long time, Cass gets the hot tag, cleans house.
So,
it was great.
For me, I haven't watched SmackDown the past couple weeks because I haven't really made the time to do so. So I still hadn't seen the Vaudevillains on the main roster.
Oh, man,
dude, I'm impressed. They've got an edge to them, and they're they're just kind of like a little bit crazy and a little bit on the edge, and you're kind of afraid of what's going to happen with them. Sorry, I guess I'm sort of jumping ahead a little bit, but just talking about the way like this whole thing's coming together, I'm just really excited to see the match.
I've enjoyed this tag tournament so much, and they've done such a good job with it. It's exactly what we've asked of them to do with a tournament on their television programs. Like, make me want to watch SmackDown, and I did. And like, if you haven't been watching SmackDown, Josh, you missed one of my favorite Enzo cut downs on somebody, which is when he was talking about the Ascension, and he said, "There's 1,000,001 bad things I could say about the Ascension, but the worst thing is that they're the Ascension. How you doing?" Oh my god! And even the crowd, like, you heard an audible like "ooh" out of the crowd, like, oh, what a burn. And like that's one thing I've loved about this, is that they extended it over to SmackDown. And then they've moved it, the important matches this week onto Raw. They're going to have it end at the pay-per-view. And it's worked out wonderfully. It's been really cool. It's done nothing but help their tag division. And I love the fact that in the end, the teams that they're pushing are their two new teams that come up from NXT. That's really well done.
Yeah. And getting back to this match in particular, I do have to give credit, especially to Bubba Ray Dudley, but the Dudley Boys in general, because ever since they came back, like, they've said that this wasn't just a Legends, greatest hits, best of tour or anything like that, but honestly, it really has felt like that ever since their return. Their match with Enzo and Cass was probably the first time that I got really excited, and like hearing Bubba Ray be so vocal during the match and kind of showing a little bit of something different, it was kind of exciting, and I thought that really helped to put Enzo and Cass over ultimately, but at the same time, like, I think that should be able to help propel them into something else as well. See the Dudleys do something at least a little bit more interesting as we get closer to Extreme Rules, which will be the next one after Payback.
they're kind of in the same role as Jericho, right? I mean,
Yeah.
where they're there and they're essentially they're enhancing talent, but they still have so much to offer. So it's not like they're, it's not like the old days of WCW where you could just tell the older guys were just completely out of the league of the younger guys and had no business in the ring with them. These guys still have, the championship ability in them, but it's cool to see them put over guys like Enzo and Kaz. It's cool to see WWE getting behind someone like Enzo and Kaz and the Vaudevillains too. Like, these are really weird gimmicks, when you really think about it, and they're not your typical Vince McMahon, I love these kind of guys, situation. I think of the four guys, the only guy I could see him getting behind is Kaz, right? Because he's the big guy, he's muscular, he's in good shape, all of that stuff. Everybody else I would see completely being off the radar. So I just find it.
I would give credit to Enzo as well, just because of his mic abilities. That's always held a lot of, weight with Vince as well.
Right, but Enzo has had a lot of criticism against him in his career for his wrestling ability and his size. Yeah. So I'm just saying, for them to push them the way they have, immediately coming up, I'm just saying, it's a credit to WWE. Like, good for them to believe in guys like that. Like, it is about entertainment. As much as we love great wrestling, as much as we love everything that happens in the ring, there's not enough entertaining people out there like Enzo and Kaz, even like the Vaudevillains. Billy sent us, a video today from him in London watching SmackDown, and one of his biggest points was that these four guys, these particular tag teams, they don't sound like they're coming off script. They sound like they're just natural, and I think that's a credit to their time in NXT. Getting a chance to work out a lot of the bugs, work out a lot of the hesitation and a lot of that lack of experience on the mic. And now they all four of them, they sound like well-rounded professionals that have been there before. It's awesome. I think it's cool to see the crowd behind them also. Like, that's one thing that I'm really happy for. Like, these guys deserve for the crowd to be behind them, but I didn't think that they would be as popular, with the mainstream WWE crowd as they are. So overall, it's worked really well, and the WWE's handled it really well.
I agree. Okay, we'll move on. Next, we had Roman Reigns come out, do his Roman Reigns thing, and AJ Styles come, and they have a rather standard, mildly respectful, I'm gonna beat you sort of promo. But the interesting... just because, hey, they let AJ talk.
Yes, and I want to know what he thought about it. But yes, I actually thought it wasn't terrible. I thought AJ did a decent job.
It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't memorable. It was. I mean, I guess AJ's point of having the match of my life is what I do. That's not a bad gambit to go with, But the interesting part was, of course, Roman getting jumped by Gallows and Anderson.
Yeah.
Which was a nice little surprise. It's the
we
mark
didn't
of
talk
a good
about.
Raw, but it's the mark of a good Raw when the only wrestling that Roman Reigns does is getting his ass kicked.
Yes. It's amazing, right? And he didn't talk on the mic that much at all. But I'm sorry, what I was saying was we didn't talk about the promo where they had the Gallows and Anderson come out and hug AJ. But, that kind of all led into this, and it kind of leads into that intrigue as to whether or not they're aligned. I think that the WWE did a good job of building on this. I mean, obviously there's lots of history that they're actually just kind of glossing over, but that's okay because most of the WWE audience doesn't know of, what's gone on in New Japan. So I think that this was a cool way to go. I was surprised they went this direction that fast, but I also like the fact that it kind of linked in with them attacking the Usos last week.
Yeah, there's a lot of intrigue behind this. You mentioned the backstage segment. We had like Carl Anderson. The things that he said and the way that he said them to me were very awkward, and I'm still not entirely sure, if that was I feel like he's better at delivering a promo, although you could never discount the fact that there might be some butterflies to being on WWE Raw, not quite live, but close enough to it, I guess. But to me, like, the things that he said to AJ and, you know, how excited he was about AJ and, like, you know, propping him up, it seemed kind of forced, and it seemed kind of, you know, disingenuous, and it to me, it built in those feelings of, oh, these guys don't really mean to be supporting AJ, do they? You know, they, at the same time, they attacked Roman Reigns, and so there's something there, but, like, it's still one of those things where it's like, you know, do you really trust these guys? Because, I mean, look at their last interactions in New Japan. There's not necessarily reason to trust them. It's not like they're all buddy-buddy across the board. So.
Right. And that's the thing that I think it feeds into is for fans that, like, are, you know, hardcore wrestling fans that know the history in New Japan and all of that. Like, other, you know, fans that are more casual fans that watch just WWE or don't watch WWE religiously, they're going to be, you know, okay with just the storyline they're telling them. But I think this also builds on, you know, what we know from New Japan, which is that the, you know, AJ Styles Bullet Club situation was not all, you know, gracious and happy at the end. You know, they attacked him and jumped him out. So I think it's definitely cool, and I'm interested to see where it goes. I think that's why the Twitter message that I got about it potentially being the fact that Anderson and Gallows aligns with Roman Reigns is very interesting, and you know, definitely a possible storyline direction that they might be going.
I mean, like, especially if that, you know, comes after the fact, you know, that they beat him down. You know, like, you know, was he willing to take a beat down just to really sell that story? Like, I don't know. That right. Seems a little bit too complex, but I guess.
It could be, man. If they go in the direction that they've gone over the last few weeks. Yeah, I have that belief in them that they could be doing something like that. I mean, they've been doing a good job, man. So yeah. I mean,
it'd be cool.
I feel like I give them that credit now.
Yeah. Well, if there are no other points, we had Baron Corbin come out, squash Fandango rather quickly, and beat up Dolph Ziggler. It is advancing a storyline. Baron Corbin doesn't like Dolph. Not sure where it's going with this, but yeah, it's an okay use of Baron Corbin, reminding us that he still exists.
And
he
many
throws
of us,
people out of the ring.
Yeah, there's that. Many of us have gotten sick of Dolph, frankly, too. As much as we wanted to support him so long, like, it kind of just hit a point, I feel like. And especially the way that guys like Fandango and Ziggler can sell the end of days, it just makes that move look so impactful, and it gets me excited for Baron Corbin, like, all over again. Like, my level of excitement for him in NXT, like, it reached a peak a long time ago, and then I got tired of him, and I was like, this guy. And so, you know, coming from WrestleMania and then seeing him do what he's been doing the past couple of weeks, I think it's really helped reestablish him.
Seeing him eat 5 pounds of meat all by himself. No, he
wasn't all by himself.
No, I think that he has transitioned well to the main roster, and I think he's an interesting character. I mean, he's something that they really don't have on the main roster, which is crazy when you think about it. Like, they don't have, like, a badass heel character that really doesn't care about wins or losses or getting counted out or any of that kind of stuff. He just wants to hurt people. They don't really have that, and
that's what Kane used to be.
Yeah, right. No, I agree with you.
But he's almost been around a little bit too long that he's no longer a mystery anymore, and Corbin still has that mystery factor.
Well, it's just interesting to me that these NXT guys get it so much more than guys that have been on the main roster for years. You know, like, they get their characters, they get what they're doing, and as they've all come up on the main roster recently, they've all done an excellent job at being exactly what they were in NXT, but bringing it to the main roster in a way that they have succeeded. Baron Corbin even has been really, really successful. I like the way that he, like I said, he dumps the guys over the top rope is just kind of a reminiscent of his victory at WrestleMania to win the, Andre the Giant Battle Royal, and just everything about him. He's done an excellent job. I mean, plus he's a former Arizona Cardinal, so I back him for life. There's no changing that.
Yep. Ditto to all that. Next up, it had been almost an hour since we had a talk show segment, so here comes Miz TV.
Why not another one?
Yeah. And this one was perfectly fine. I mean, I liked Cesaro coming out to yap at Miz, and then, the League of Nations coming out and previewing that it's going to be Cesaro versus Rusev. But then Cesaro pulls the swerve and says it's now an 8-man tag match with you four, and then he rips off his shirt to show the bootios, or rips off his suit to show the bootios shirt. And that might be the best announcement of an 8-man tag match that I've seen in a very long time.
I popped so goddamn hard. I was sitting at my desk at work, and I popped like a motherfucker. Like, that was an amazing moment, and it was, like you said, it was such a stupid match to get that excited for, but I don't care. I loved it. Mm-hmm. Also, wait, Miz was interviewing Maurice during that segment. Is Maurice not as hot as she used to be, or is that just me thinking that way? I know I need to bring the show to a screeching halt with that, but there's just something about Maurice that is not.
Well, I don't know. I honestly, I think she is still as hot. What we're seeing though is like
of course
her.
Josh.
Well, hey.
She's blonde with legs. Yes, of course.
Yeah, but I mean, like, so to your point, all we're getting to see of her right now is wearing a single outfit and talking kind of awkwardly, which is kind of always her thing. But where she really shined, and for me, when I thought she was the hottest, was when she was like actually kicking ass and putting on decent matches as a female wrestler, which I don't know if we're going to see this round. I don't know if she's ever going to lace up the boots again, but I'm excited about the prospect of that happening again. And I think that's what's missing, because once you see her doing that stuff again, it's like, oh yeah, she's hot.
Yeah, and she's really upping the Miz's game, because they are infinitely more annoying together. It's mastery how much I hate them, and it's perfect. Like the whole repeating himself and take 2, take 3 thing, man, that was irritating, and it was well done.
Yeah, so good.
Played into his character very well.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Love it.
Yeah, but the match itself was pretty fun, because it was basically the Cesaro show. He got to do a billion European uppercuts to everybody in the League of Nations and The Miz.
Yeah, it was nice.
There's no name for him doing like a crap ton of running European uppercuts to the corners at this point, right?
No, I don't think so.
Is that something that should be named?
I think a crap ton of European uppercuts is a pretty awesome name.
My terrible suggestion for it being named is Michael Cole saying, or JBL saying something along the lines of "Welcome to the Eurozone."
That's dumb.
I said it was terrible.
I'm not a fan.
I said it was terrible.
It's worse than terrible.
No, I really enjoy when he does that. Between that and Big E's gyrations, quite frankly, those were the stars of that match. As long as Xavier Woods did a few things too. I don't quite remember off the top of my head, but he did a few things.
Wait! They could say that they're trapped in the Cesaro section.
That's a little better.
Cesaro, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay. I'm just trying to wrap it back to their own tagline. No, but what were you saying about Xavier?
I don't remember exactly what it was, but like something sticks out. Like I remember like him doing something very. Oh, you know what? I'll even just go back to the entrance where they did the Cesaro cannons. and Xavier sold the cannons on the entrance. Like, just the little things. And he had a couple moments during the match as well that were at least as good. Like, I think he's kind of underrated as a wrestler. Everybody talks about his talking abilities and, like, standing around with the trombone and all that, but there's a lot more to him than that.
I think he became that because of some sort of injury or something that we don't know of, honestly. I think that he was sidelined for a while, because I know he had an injury at one point, and I think it just probably became more of a long-term thing, but then it also becomes the fact that Kofi and Big E are kind of a perfect combination of, like, athleticism and stamina and speed and strength and all of that, so... him being the manager, it just works out well. By comparison, he's not a bad wrestler. Just the other two are much better, maybe, or maybe more of an interesting combination, considering they're such opposites. But I don't know. I agree with you. I think he is a better wrestler. I was a big fan of him, in TNA. I thought he was going to have a tremendous singles career. So this whole thing with the New Day was unexpected, but it's definitely worked out really, really well with him. Especially considering Big E's tweet about them being like #1 in merch sales since WrestleMania or something like that.
That was nice to see, and not at all surprising, considering how many Bootios shirts we saw that weekend.
Oh, Jesus Christ. You're talking to a guy that actually stopped at a grocery store to buy fake-ass Lucky Charms to put in a fake box that I got at WrestleMania from Danny, which, thank you, Danny, because that was my daughter's favorite piece of memorabilia that I brought home. But to this day, she still doesn't really want to eat the Bootios because she just wants to keep the box. And I'm like, yeah, we can keep the box, and, the cereal inside was like cheap ass, like Safeway cereal that cost me $1 or something. But it's funny that we love the New Day for what they are, for what they say, their comedy, even some of the stuff we see them to do in the ring, and yet one of the things I'm seeing online is like my kid is not the only like young child that absolutely adores the New Day. So they're doing a really good job of bringing in fans of all sorts of different ages. We love them for their cynicism and their comedy and all of that, but the kids love them for the light up unicorn horns and the rainbows and all of that stuff. So that, in all honesty, as characters, as people that sell merch, they're doing a fantastic job.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I love them. They're the best thing in wrestling. The next thing that happened was an absolute clusterfuck of a women's match. I think there were, 70 people in the match? And it all ended with Charlotte. Yeah. Well, it has to be an even number, right?
Oh, yeah. You're right. 76.
Yeah. But it ended with Natalya putting Charlotte in the sharpshooter. The only real news that came out of this match, or before this match at least, is that Bret Hart will be at Payback in Natalya's corner. Anybody excited about that?
It's fine. I guess I'm not terribly excited, but I don't hate it either, and I think it's a good progression of that feud. So, yeah, cool, whatever.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I'm excited to see Natalya and Charlotte more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I feel the same way Josh does. I also feel it was a bit predictable. Like, I felt like this was leading up to that, but then I kind of wondered if they were going to do it. So, it's not, like, super surprising that he's going to be there, but, yeah, I'm okay with it, and I'm interested, and it's the next natural progression for this feud.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and hopefully it works so that we can see less Ric Flair. Because I like Charlotte a lot, but I think we've gone beyond the have your dad cheat for you every single time thing.
Yeah. At the same time, though, I think it's not quite like X-Pac level heat. It's not like I want to change the channel. I want to see Ric Flair get knocked on his ass.
Right.
Hopefully by Natalya, to be honest.
It kind of builds on the Dr. Phil thing, right? Of him telling her that she can do it alone. So it'll be interesting to see, and I'm sure Charlotte will retain. So I'm sure that's what it will be about, is her doing it on her own without Ric Flair's help.
Yeah, that might be it. You don't think they're going to put the strap on Natalya?
I'm not saying she doesn't deserve it. It would be great to see. She absolutely deserves it. I don't think so. I feel like that when Charlotte drops it, it's going to be to Sasha.
Yeah, I'd give Natalya as little as like a 20% chance, but it'd be cool. This match in particular, though, like, since there were so many women involved in it, I do at least want to point out, I remember seeing Paige have a few moments in the match and being, I guess, reminded that, hey, Paige is a decent wrestler. She's just been out of that whole picture for the longest time. For whatever reason, maybe it's just to make sure the spotlight was on, Sasha, Becky, and Charlotte, as it should have been at the time anyway. But, when the time is right, just as it was with Natalya, I'm excited to see Paige back in the mix again.
I just wonder how much of the stuff that we see on Total Divas is true. Because if it is, it seems like Paige has kind of been one of those people that her mouth and her attitude with, management within WWE has put her in the position that she's in. It's not so much of a thing of like, oh, Paige, hey, we need you to take a back seat for now. It kind of seems like she's put herself where she's at.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know.
I haven't watched Total Divas since season 1 because I think it's trash. But
I'm not disagreeing with that, but I will say that they did get it back a little bit on track to being more about, what was going on, because they have more divas on there than just like the Bella Twins and Natalya and a couple of others. So like they've shown that, and like there's been a few altercations between Paige and like Road Dogg, and so it's been interesting to see that, and I just wonder how much of that is I don't know, like you said, I don't believe Total Divas anymore, so I don't like put faith in that. But when you see what she's the fact that she just lost to like Emma on SmackDown, you see stuff like that, and it just makes you wonder, if she's kind of in the doghouse a bit with WWE management.
If she is, how long is it going to last? Jesus.
Right. That's the other thing too.
Yeah.
Like, I agree with Josh that the women, that came up from NXT definitely deserve to have the spotlight, but in a way, a lot of times I see Paige as being the start of that. So it's kind of weird to see her left out of it completely. Like, completely left out of it.
Well, and the thing to me... Well, go ahead, Darrell.
Go ahead, Josh. No, Josh, go.
So, I mean, like, the thing to me is, like, we've got, 10, 12 or so women on the main roster all competing for a single belt. Which, it's kind of hard, like, if to have, like, the A storyline and B storylines to that. They've done a decent job from time to time, but at the same time, like, they're not all going to have something relevant. Like, half of them, at any given time, at least, are going to just sort of get put in the back burner.
Yeah, I mean, they have so... Like, this match is indicative of just how many good women's wrestlers they have. Mm-hmm. And so maybe this is an opportunity to sort of semi-officially say, okay, these women are SmackDown, and we'll have some sort of separate rivalry, and we don't have to make a second belt or anything like that, but just because if you're devoting only one segment to the women, having them all on at once sort of muddies the water,
True, very true. I do notice that Becky and Emma have kind of started their own program, and I think that's cool because they started it on, Twitter, and it transferred over to like SmackDown and some other comments made. So I think they're going to pursue that as a secondary storyline. But if they do, I think that was done in part to, again, Emma and Becky doing that on their own versus it being like something that was, made by WWE.
Mm-hmm. And well, going back to Total Divas, I can't believe I'm saying that. Apparently there's news that Lana's going to be joining. Not just okay.
Yes.
All right. I have a question. I have an actual question about this though.
Just grunting and yeses.
Okay. I have an actual question here though. Does she maintain the accent?
I don't
because
know.
I mean she's a Florida girl. She's not really from Russia. Does she? Because like when she was on Edge and Christian's show, she was in character. She still spoke the Russian thing, you know. So does she keep the facade of the Russian accent even when she's on this dumb reality show? I hope she does, honestly.
Probably. Because she doesn't.
You're saying probably? I say doubtful.
You're doubtful that she does. Oh, I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know.
I think she'll just be CJ.
Oh, that takes so much out of the... Like, that makes me sad. So next you're going to tell me there's no bun, right? There's no bun?
Probably not.
That hurts my feelings. Yeah, no, I could see that. I'm not saying that's out of the realm of possibility. Total Divas does approach it definitely in a real life kind of way. So, but I also think that they keep Lana very much in being Lana. Like she's even appeared on like daytime news programs doing the weather and stuff, and she's been in character. So I don't know. I don't know at this point. I would say I'm gonna say they keep her in character. That's what I say.
I hope so. But we'll see. Moving on, we had our other semifinals match. The Vaudevillains beat the Usos. I was so excited and impressed and surprised that the Usos didn't automatically just go into the finals. My only sort of complaint is I think this match should have been earlier in the show because the crowd was pretty tired by that, and they weren't as excited about the victory as they should have been. Yeah,
I'll say that. But I did like the progression. I like the fact that the Usos got beat up last week by Anderson and Gallows, so they were still, it doesn't... Right, it doesn't make them look bad because they lost this match because they got beat up by a surprise attack. So overall, everything made sense storyline-wise, especially losing to, some up-and-coming rookies, essentially, in the Vaudevillains.
And I'm very happy that they kept everything that makes the Vaudevillains the Vaudevillains. The entrance was still there, still in black and white.
Yep.
Gotch still did his deep knee bends. It was exactly what I love about the Vaudevillains, and they put on a fun match.
I even love the fact that they've enhanced their whole like Gotch especially. Like I love him screaming at the crowd and stuff as he just walks into the ring. He's done such a good job. Yeah, I don't know. I've been surprised because they haven't really changed much. It's not hard, right? These guys, just like Enzo and Kaz, have an established gimmick, an established personality, and they should treat them the same way they treat like Gallows and Anderson coming in. Like, just embrace the gimmick that they've already established. You own them now, so go with it. Don't feel the need to change it. And I think that's one of the things that's hurt other people that they've brought up. They've felt the need to change it, or they lost confidence in them right away. But the Vaudevillains and Enzo and Kaz have both delivered, and I mean it was really cool to see them get a win and to know that the finale is going to be between the two essentially NXT teams that have come up. It's awesome. I think I'm really excited for that more than like any other outcome that could have ended this tournament.
Yeah, and right now we have 3 teams left: the New Day, the Vaudevillains, and Cass and Enzo, where it doesn't matter who wins. I love all 3 of these tag teams so much. Yes. But so between the Vaudevillains and Cass and Enzo, which do you want to see take on the New Day? Because, I mean, they're all sort of tweener, reasonably popular tag teams. So I don't know who the face would be,
I wouldn't necessarily put the Vaudevillains in a tweener role at this point. Like they seem to me like they're, and again I've just seen them the once, but it seems to me like they're pretty well establishing themselves as the villains of this whole story.
Yeah.
They did the last couple of weeks in NXT as well before they came out.
And legitimately too, like where they're not necessarily going to get people to cheer them, especially when you put them up against either of these teams. And I guess just because they're the new hotness, like Enzo and Cass, like they would get the cheers over the New Day, and also kind of expecting that the New Day is pretty well established at this point. You know, if they happen to drop the belts to them, they'll get them back at some point. Enzo and Cass would probably be the most exciting thing. I don't know. As you were saying, like I almost don't really care.
Yeah,
Enzo and Cass are.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah,
you can say the Vaudevillains are hot. Enzo and Cass are nuclear, man. I mean, the crowd support behind Enzo and Cass has even shocked me. Like I think we can all speak for that being there the night after Mania. Like. It was great. It was amazing. We were excited, but man, to have every single individual in that building pretty much quoting Enzo and Kaz and just cheering and popping the way we did, it's amazing to see, and I really think at this point they deserve it. But I mean, I don't know if you were going to have the New Day retain, I would probably have them retain against Enzo and Kaz. And then if they were going to lose it, I would probably have them lose to the Vaudevillains. I just based that on reaction and the way I think it would go. Enzo and Kaz, I think, are going to remain hot for a while. So, you can put them on the chase for it after this tournament. But it's really hard, in my opinion, to have this whole tournament occur and then just have the New Day retain. So I don't know what's going to happen, and that's another really cool part about this. It doesn't seem predictable. I don't know which way it's going to go, and the outcome of the tournament is going to probably change my opinion on how the final match is going to go.
See, and I think like the New Day could potentially retain because it's already elevated both of these teams. As I said previously, it elevated the Dudleys. Like it's done. With just like a couple weeks worth of matches, like they've elevated, I wouldn't say the entire tag team division, but a good handful of teams, and not just whoever the winner is. So that's kind of cool.
That's a really good point. Like both of these teams are new teams, so they're already there. They've already gotten that credibility of getting to the finals of a tournament, and whoever wins it is going to have that they won this tournament. Kind of like the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. It's the same kind of meaningless achievement that you can attach to someone that makes them more credible. So if either team wins and then goes on to lose to the New Day, it kind of still in the end makes everybody look good. At this point, all three teams involved are going to look good.
Yeah, it's something to be excited about. I'm amazed. The next match, we had Apollo Crews beat Heath Slater, which sort of had a stipulation, but we all knew it was going to be pointless, where if Heath Slater beats Apollo Crews, he'll join the Social Outcasts, which honestly would have been fun and actually could have added something to Apollo Crews' character, which is still just powerful, smiley guy. But, I like Apollo.
He's too damn nice. He's too damn nice. Like, that's the thing about him, is that he's just too damn nice right now. I can't take him seriously as a competitor.
Yeah, man.
Just so happy.
Something's got to give. I feel like maybe they're just sort of biding their time. Maybe a couple of creative writers have something interesting, but they just haven't convinced the right people yet. Maybe it's Jack Swagger. I don't know. There's got to be something more to him. He's got great music. I love the music. His presence is decent, but it's like, why do you care? The little thing they did with the Social Outcasts this week, I watched actually a good chunk of the pre-show, and they built it up nicely during that. And I like that they mentioned it during Raw as well. So it was good that there was something around that,
but did he not say Apollo out as he walked away?
What? Really?
Did he?
Like he left and he was like Apollo out or something like that. Like something he said that was just terrible. Even the fact I was loving the segment a little bit up to that point, I was like, oh, you know. I did like their made up nicknames for him though. It was like Cruise Control,
the Cruise Missile,
Singles Cruise,
yeah.
Speed 2, Cruise Control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're gonna do with him though, man. That's the thing. I feel like they're just gonna put a belt on him really soon, and then hope the belt helps to build up what he is.
The United States Championship.
Yes,
That'd be nice. That would be totally okay by me.
Yeah, that's not the worst idea. If they don't do something else, you know, like Jack Swagger or whatever. Yeah, United States Championship. Sure, why not? Do something with that damn belt.
Yeah.
Yeah, get it off Kalisto.
All right. Well, the last match was Dean Ambrose versus Kevin Owens. Pretty good match. And Ambrose won on a Dirty Deeds, but then gets attacked by Jericho to end the show. So, overall, pretty much every segment advanced some sort of plot. I don't know what changed after WrestleMania. If they rehired new writers or something, I don't know, but I'm liking it. I think this was a very good Raw.
Or if, like, on the way to WrestleMania, the writers' main deal was, hey, we need to, like, do something to make these WrestleMania matches matter, because they kind of just got thrown together. And now that the whole time has passed, it's like, all right, let's build actual feuds and stuff, and not be married to, you know, what the outcomes are at the next big pay-per-view, but let's put something interesting together.
Mm-hmm.
I just wonder what conversations were like internally at WWE. I wonder how much Vince realized that he was out of touch. I wonder how much some of the crowd reaction at WrestleMania made him realize some things. I wonder how much, you know, like, to a certain degree, I feel like there are very reasonable, intelligent people that work there, that are in creative, that are in management, that know the exact direction to go, but I feel like they get overridden, or they get, you know, whatever happens. I feel like the stories get muddied, and that's why what we see on TV is such a garbage product, you know, going into WrestleMania or from time to time. I think that sometimes there might be that moment of clarity where they just let the people that have been working there and writing the stories do the things they want to do versus meddling in it, and that could explain a lot of what we're seeing. You know, I think that they know what they have in certain characters. They know what they have in someone like AJ Styles or Sami Zayn. But the fact is that you have certain old school thinking involved. I won't even blame it entirely on Vince, but, you know, sure, we all think that that's who it is mainly. But let's say Vince just takes his hands off it a little bit and just lets the people that he's hired to be creative and produce the show, and see what the results are. I mean, the results have already been wildly in favor of what they've been doing. You posted, you know, a screenshot of like a review or of what people thought of last week's Raw, and it was like 81% people enjoyed last week's Raw. That's something that you have not been seeing out of recent polls when they've been taking those similar polls on WWE.com. So, I mean, maybe they're just finally starting to use the feedback and do what they, you know, what the fans want. And now that the fans are getting what they want, we're happy about it. And it doesn't all have to be like, oh, hey, now we're mad Cesaro isn't getting pushed. No, you put Cesaro in a very entertaining match with the New Day, and we love it. And the way that you did it was great, and we love just the fact that you are featuring Cesaro as one of your main guys, and you're doing stuff like you did tonight. I don't need to see Cesaro necessarily in a title match or have a belt on him. I just want to see him featured as one of the guys that you should be featuring, because he's one of the most entertaining wrestlers that you have on the roster. Same with so many other guys that aren't named Roman Reigns, that aren't named Triple H, that aren't named, something else. Like, it's clear that they know now that guys like Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn and, Cesaro are their main guys, and now that they're defining that and utilizing them as such, it's proving to be a better show. We're more entertained by it, and it's just going to continue to go that way because they have a lot of guys that they've hired, that they've brought on, that they haven't even debuted yet. Can you imagine once Nakamura gets to the roster? Jesus Christ!
Oh man,
I can't even understand how that's going to factor into the mix. And Finn Balor and all of these other guys on NXT that still haven't seen the main roster. So it's exciting, and I think that's one of the things I said in the past. The future is going to be bright for WWE, and it's already starting to be bright. Now that they're moving in this direction.
Yep, and my only fear is that eventually John Cena and Randy Orton are going to come back. Silence.
Yeah.
Fearful silence is the response.
I mean, like, John Cena could come back and resurrect the United States Championship, and if Apollo Crews doesn't, I don't know what the hell Randy Orton would do.
But yeah.
Well, haven't these guys been away long enough now that to see them involved with like a match with like Randy Orton versus Kevin Owens, like that's kind of a cool prospect now. Like it's not the same old shtick because it's not the same guys facing the same guys that we've seen over and over again. They've done a good job at establishing this new generation, and in a way, John Cena and Randy Orton are going to be kind of like the old guard coming in. Yeah, they're still going to push them. Yeah, they're still going to be part of the main title picture, and the main picture, But at the same time, too, it'll be interesting to see what other things they can do with them. Plus, these guys have been around for a long time, so they don't have many years left on them, but I think that it could still be interesting. I'd still love to see like Sami Zayn versus John Cena again without Sami Zayn being injured, or like I said, Kevin Owens versus Randy Orton. Like all of that sounds very good to me.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not.
I guess the main point with those guys is if they use them to primarily elevate those other guys, as opposed to come in and sort of play the role of dominating guys and being the main event.
Yeah. I definitely don't want to see John Cena come out and do what he did at WrestleMania and just destroy the entire Wyatt faction. Like that I'm not at all looking forward to. But if they have them come back and be reasonable performers, reasonable wrestlers that are shuffled into the mix along with everyone else, then yeah, it could be very cool. It definitely could have the dream match potential. We've never seen John Cena versus AJ Styles, and there's a lot of combinations out there that would still be fun to at least see once in a program leading up to a pay-per-view and have a big match.
Yeah, my only real point of this, besides that Randy Orton is now the most boring character around, is that they have all these guys injured, and I mean I'm excited for when Seth Rollins finally comes back, but we have so many guys right now that we really like that a lot of people are going to fall by the wayside.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And, we saw some 60-day suspensions come around recently to Connor and Adam Rose.
But how big of a loss is that?
No, but that's my point, though, is just to what you're saying. Like, with the amount of talent they have on the roster, those are the exact kind of guys that would get cut at this point, considering that they need to make room for other people. Like if you're going to get your second wellness violation, you're right on the cusp of being cut already. When you factor in that they need to make room for other guys that are returning, yeah, that could be very likely. I was just commenting on how fat Connor looked on the last episode of SmackDown that I saw him on, and then he gets cut for this wellness violation. So, like, you know, those two things combined, you know, you combine the fact that he wasn't all ripped and jacked. He looked like garbage, and then he gets hit with a wellness violation, which I'm presuming is for some sort of, you know, some sort of performance enhancement drug, and not something else. But, you know, if it's a performance enhancement drug, I don't know what the hell it was enhancing. You know, he didn't look great, so it's not like, you know, all of that combined with the immense success of the Ascension could very well lead to them just moving on from him as a character, as well as Victor, who really hasn't worked on the main roster.
Yeah, poor Victor. that's my takeaway.
Right? Yeah, no
yeah,
shit.
because
right?
effectively he's been suspended for 60 days, unless he completely reinvents his character. But there's no room for yet another debut of some new guy, you know?
Right, and it's not like TNA. Like, TNA has, like, Davey Richards get injured, right, of the Wolves, so then they start using Eddie Edwards as a singles competitor because they don't have a big enough roster. They need him to be out there. WWE doesn't need Victor to be out there, so, like, unless he goes out there over the next few weeks as some sort of jobber, he's not even going to appear on TV. And that sucks for him, because essentially, like you said, he's been suspended for 60 days because his asshole partner has been suspended.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to say suspended that many times in a row when I've been drinking this much. Excuse me.
So, any other Raw points to make?
I love this Raw. I thought it was a great episode of Raw.
Yeah,
I was really happy.
It was...
And it's been consecutive. I mean, I know a lot of people weren't as big of fans of the Raw after Mania as we were, but I enjoyed that one.
It was fun to be there.
It was fun to be there, right? And I've enjoyed every Raw since. So far, I'm happy with the new season of WWE, if you will, because I always consider the next night after WrestleMania to be like the season debut, and that's where we're at this point. And I think they've moved on effectively, and it's been very entertaining. They're using the guys I want to see them use, so I'm happy.
Cool.
Yeah, if I was to give last week's episode like an A, I'd give this week's a B. You know, it wasn't quite as good, but it was still pretty damn good. And the only complaints are the usual, like, you know, 3 hours of Raw is a lot to sit through, and people get tired, etc., etc. But for what it is, like, they told good stories, and pretty much everything mattered. And most of it was pretty damn entertaining. So I just hope they could keep keeping it up. I think I said it last week. So so far so good.
Cool. So you guys want to play a quick game?
Yes.
Hell yeah.
All right. So I realized that from the last time we played the chase, I have 20 questions left over. So I'm going to do a modified version. What we'll do is each of you will get 10 of these questions, but if you get it wrong, the other person can steal the point. Sound good?
Okay.
Yes.
All right, who wants to go first?
Josh does.
Okay, Josh. Would you like the first 10 questions or the second 10 questions?
I'll take the first 10.
The first 10. All right. Here are your 10 questions. Who debuted in 2005 under the gimmick of Trish Stratus's biggest fan?
Mickie James.
Correct. In 2001, who was the stalker of Undertaker's then-wife, Sarah?
This is when I stopped watching. Test.
Incorrect. Derek, do you know it?
Wasn't it Vince McMahon?
It was not. It was DDP.
Oh, DDP! Yeah!
Oh, okay, that sounds
yeah.
Last minute.
All right, Josh. Josh, your third question. Perry Saturn was once obsessed with what inanimate object?
A mop.
Correct. Sean Waltman, otherwise known as X-Pac, was born in what U.S. state?
Oh, goodness. I don't know. New Jersey.
Nope. Derek? I have no... Minnesota?
You're correct. It is
yeah,
Minnesota.
I remember him talk about Minnesota before.
All right, Josh. Who was the first man to win the Money in the Bank but not end up with a title?
John Cena?
Nope. Derek?
Shit. I don't have an answer because that was my answer.
Nope.
Shoot.
It was
Wait.
Mr.
Go
Nope,
ahead.
sorry. Kennedy. It was Kennedy.
Oh, because he lost the Money in the Bank. He didn't get a chance to catch it in. Damn.
I would have that.
Exactly. Josh, who was Andre the Giant's most frequent tag partner in the 1970s?
Oh, wow. In the 70s?
Yeah, I gave you a tough one.
I don't know. Hulk Hogan.
Nope. Derek? I don't think you'll get it.
No, I probably won't. No, I don't even have an answer for you, honestly.
The answer?
Big John Studd,
Yeah.
I was going to say.
Nope, the answer is Chief J. Strongbow.
Oh.
Josh, whom did The Undertaker fight in his first ever casket match?
I'm gonna go with Papa Shango.
No, Derek?
Damn.
I'll give you 2 seconds, Derek.
I'm here. I'm just thinking. There was 2 matches I can think of, and I keep thinking Yokozuna, but I want to say Kamala was first.
So Kamala's your answer? You are correct.
Yeah.
Damn.
Who defeated Brian Christopher to become the first ever light heavyweight champion?
Wow. Taka Michinoku?
Correct.
Oh,
Well done.
Good. Nice. Well done.
Pulled that out.
Who was DDP? Yeah. Who was DDP's tag partner in a 2001 cage match versus the Brothers of Destruction?
Oh, this is again bad time for me.
Yeah, 2001.
I don't know. Booker T.
No, Derek?
God damn it, Josh. Josh always takes the answer that I was thinking. I have nothing because Booker T was my only answer. So wait, Kennedy?
Nope. It was Canyon.
Oh, wow.
Nobody does
Yeah.
it better than Canyon.
Yeah. And Josh, your final question is, what is the only venue to host consecutive WrestleManias?
No.
Madison Square Garden?
Nope. Derek?
I don't know the name of it. Florida. So. No,
Nope.
I don't
It
know.
was Trump Plaza in Atlantic City.
Oh, really?
Oh, Atlantic City.
Yep. All right, so after that round, Josh, you have 3. Derek has 2. All right, Derek, here are yours.
All right.
What Hall of Famer's entrance music was written by Richard Strauss?
Richard Strauss?
Yes.
Ric Flair?
Correct. Thus spake Zarathustra. What band played Triple H's theme, The Game, live at WrestleMania 18?
Motorhead.
Nope, it was Drowning Pool.
Oh, you didn't give Josh a chance to steal.
Oh, fuck! Sorry.
No problem.
Josh, did you know that one?
I would not
Honor
have gotten
system?
Drowning Pool.
Okay. Sorry.
That's all right.
what was
I just want to point that out.
Yeah, you're right. I fucked up. Derek, what was the name of the Godfather's finisher?
Godfather's finisher. I don't.
No. Josh,
Was it the Ho Train?
No, it was not the Ho Train.
Okay.
Josh?
I don't know. I was gonna guess Ho Train. I'll say Pimp Slap.
Oh, so close. It's the Pimp Drop.
Pimp Drop! Ah!
Yep. All right, Derek.
All right.
Roy Wayne Ferris is the real name of what former wrestler?
Roy Wayne. Don't know. Oh, wait. Is that the Honky Tonk Man?
It is the Honky Tonk Man.
Fuck that guy. Still banned from his fucking forums.
You're weird. In 2010, a masked Miz defeated Eugene in a contract on a pole match using what ring name?
Oh, I have no idea.
Josh?
The Mez.
No. Josh?
The Patriot.
No, he was the Calgary Kid. This was when Miz was fired and he had to fight his way back, so he came back as the Calgary Kid. Okay, Derek, who came in second in the only 40-man Royal Rumble match?
Oh, that's the one that Alberto Del Rio won.
Who came in second, though?
I know. Who did he drop out? Why do I keep thinking Batista? I don't know, man.
Is Batista
Triple
your
H?
answer?
No, Triple H?
Nope, not Triple H. Josh?
I'll go with Batista.
I'm disappointed in both of you. It was Santino.
Oh,
that's because he was like right. He was like cheering that he won it, and then he dumped him out.
Right, exactly.
Okay, I remember that now.
All right, Derek. What is Lita's real name?
Amy Dumas.
Yeah, Dumas, I think.
Dumas.
But yeah. William Regal is billed from what English city?
Sheffield.
Nope. Josh?
No, man. Blackpool.
Correct.
Oh. Yeah.
Who accompanied Triple H for his match against Ultimate Warrior at WrestleMania 12?
China?
Not China. Josh?
Was it Pamela Anderson?
It was not. You got the right idea, though. It was Sable.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
She just did everything at that point.
Yeah.
And everybody.
And finally, Derek, Charles Ashenoff, known as Conan in WCW, debuted in WWF under what ring name?
Max Moon?
You are correct.
Yeah! Max fucking Moon!
Yep, Derek,
I was going to get a steal
win.
there.
Yeah, if you had gotten the steal, you would have tied it up. It ended up 6-4. 6-4 for Derek. Good game, gents.
I actually last week just read an article on WWE.com. Go to WWE.com and type in Max Moon. The first article that's on there is all about like Conan and the ridiculous suit. He actually talks about it on what did he do? Was it Jericho's podcast or Austin's?
ML. Oh, yeah. I thought it was his own on MLW, but
no, he did. I'm sure he's talked about it there too. But he did one of those recently. I listened to, which was very entertaining. And there's like a whole article on WWE.com talking about the Max Moon suit and like how much money he would have to spend to go pick it up and this big ridiculous thing he would put on, and it's amazing that was ever a thing that Vince McMahon got excited about.
Dude, it's so amazing to watch. Like, one of the things that's amazing about the period of time that Billy made us watch was that combination of guys that we see as legendary mixed in with, like, the Duke the Dumpster Drozies and shit. Like, it was just a weird time where they still had a lot of those weird, hokey 80s characters, but then a lot of the guys that we revere as being, like, legends were just being formed and were, like, separating themselves.
I'm with you, man. This is way before. This is like the beginning of Monday Night Raw. Was like Max Moon's era as well.
Right.
You get to see just a little bit of him on the Monday Night Raw until he disappears and shows up in WCW. But
yeah, it was garbage.
Hot garbage.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's do winners of the week. Anybody want to go first?
I'm going to go Dean Ambrose. I thought overall...
For his botany?
Yes, for his botany, for his hosting of a show, for his match, for everything. I think Dean Ambrose, it's weird because I was never a big fan of Dean Ambrose in the ring, but Dean Ambrose has gotten to this point where he's like this, I'm going to take a big beating and then come back character. And I dig that. He does it well, and he's believable in that role. So I thought it was cool. I thought the way that he hosted the show was good. And overall, I felt like he was a big, focal point for Raw. I'm happy for that. I like him even in his wacky phase, which I'm not super happy about all the time. I'd love to see a more focused Dean Ambrose, more involved in the title picture, just like a lot of people. But as far as entertainment goes, I'm enjoying this version of Dean Ambrose, and he was featured heavily on this week's Raw. So I have to give the winner of the week to him.
Cool. Josh, how about you? You go next.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of good choices. I'll go Cesaro this
week.
Good.
That's what I thought you would pick.
Just because, speaking of somebody who is featured heavily, I think The Miz did a hell of a job putting him over. Cesaro maximized his small amount of mic time, and he plays his role very well. The tearaway suit is one of the greatest innovations I've seen in some time to ring entrances, and I'm very excited to see him keep using that. And beyond that, just seeing him shine in that ring, you can put him in the ring with 10 other guys, and he will steal the show just about every damn time. And we've seen it multiple times in the last couple. Well, I guess now and then going as far back as before he got injured, he was starting to do that. And the timing was just unfortunate, and I'm happy to see that they've recovered and probably done even more with his momentum since then.
Cool. Yeah, I wanted to go last because I figured, well, he's going to pick Cesaro, but if not, I will. So that frees me up to give winner of the week to Cass and Enzo. I love them so much. The crowd loves them so much. They put on a really entertaining match, and looking at the bracket at the beginning of Raw, I sort of feared, oh boy, it's going to be Dudley's versus Usos again in the final, and then they went exactly the opposite, and I was very pleased. So, and also Cass and Enzo, a very rapid 2-time guest on Austin's podcast. That hardly ever happens. That he has them on and then liked it so much that he just had them on again a week later.
Enzo's so goddamn good at that gimmick. Mm-hmm. He's so good. He truly is the Jordan of jargon, and he's just expanded on it so much more since he's been on the main roster. So, I mean, kudos to them, and they deserve all of the support they're getting, and I hope that they continue to bring it. I love when Kaz uses him as a weapon. That's amazing.
Yes. Yeah, that's a perfect finisher for them. I'm big, I'm going to kick everybody's ass, and then I'm going to throw my friend at you.
Sounds like some guys I knew in high school.
Yep. It was pretty good. And I also, I think I mentioned this last week, that Enzo credits his gift of gab to being a wedding DJ for however many years. And he comes from a family of wedding DJs. That's just funny to me.
Indeed.
Yeah. All right. So, I guess we'll wrap it up. Thanks so much for listening to episode 224. Please follow us all on Twitter. I am at Zazenplot. Derek is at Cap_Caveman with a K. But, of course, all roads lead to at The Steel Cage. You can buy our t-shirts at thesteelcageshop.com. You could drop us an email at podcast@thesteelcage.com. Any additional plugs from you gents? No, all right.
I'm doing the minutes with the mayor this week with the guys from Kaiju Big Battle. We're going to talk about the ridiculousness that is Kaiju Big Battle. So check that out.
There we go. I
was
figured
going to
there
say,
was something.
Always check out Minutes with the Mayor. Always check out the Dirty Sheets. Subscribe to us on iTunes and the Google Play Store, because I just got a notice that podcasts got added to the Google Play Store recently, and we are on the initial rollout, so that's cool. Yeah, so just kind of wanted to get the word out about that.
Cool. All right. Yeah, subscribe, leave 5-star reviews, all that good stuff.
Yep.
And thanks again so much for listening. And remember, kids, how you doing?